So we're doing things a little bit differently on this episode of the podcast. As you can see, if you're watching this on video, we are in the beautiful Crystal Beach with the backdrop behind us. And we have a couple special guests on here, but the owner of this lovely home, Mike Burke, is joining us to kind of talk about the story, the history behind the home, and just kind of, you know, what you love about Crystal Beach. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me to join you.
Yeah, so why don't we start in the beginning and just kind of tell us, like, when you first came to Crystal Beach, when was that? And then kind of, like, what was the community like then?
I had a friend who had kind of lived all over the country, and he asked me a question. He said, where do you think you'd like to live and what kind of area? And I said, I'd like to live by a major metropolitan area where I'd have access to culture and art, but I'd like to live in a more rural space that's closer to the water. And so he said to me, you want to live in a place called Crystal Beach, Florida. I used to live there. And so he made me promise to come down and visit him, and I did. And darned if he wasn't right. It was a perfect fit. We took a driving tour around the U.S. and visited 10 major cities that we might want to move to, but we couldn't get Crystal Beach out of our mind.
Crazy.
At that time, it was like a sleepy fishing village. And there were probably only about 200, 250 homes in the place. And the charm, the old Florida style of it, the vibration level of the Tampa Bay area is just melts right down as soon as you drive into Crystal Beach. So that's what it was all about.
Yeah, just kind of escaping from everything else and just
having access to all those things that Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater can bring, but at the same time being able to come home at night and get out of all of the hectic pace of everything around you. It's been a fantastic thing for us. Yeah,
it's beautiful. I think that's probably why it's grown in popularity that Crystal Beach has over the years.
Definitely.
Right? Everyone's like looking for that escape from
and it's still here. It's not it's not like it was.
Right.
But that is still possible, you know, with the Live Oak Park and the public pier and the community church and Gulf Shore Park with its shell path walking trail. Then it has access right through the middle of it with the Pinellas Trail, so joggers, bicyclers. It offers everything. Old Palm Harbor nearby with restaurants and shops and kind of, again, that old Florida feel. It's been idyllic for us. It's a great place to raise my family. And so I've been grateful to have lived here for all this time.
Yeah, that's awesome and so cool to hear. So let's talk about the home that you're currently selling, and like where the idea of this kind of home came from, because you built this home. It was in '91, I believe, correct?
That's correct.
So tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, we had previously lived in a 1925 bungalow next door. And I had two children that came along after a while with a one-bathroom house, and so it just wasn't going to suit. I had acquired this vacant lot next door, and so we made plans to build. And I kind of designed, I would say, a good portion of it by myself, but near the end, I went to a design consultant. Because although I knew how I wanted to use the space, I wanted it to have architectural interest. So I met a guy named Gary Batters who was with Shoreline's design group, and so he added things like these sculptured balconies and vaulted ceilings on the inside and cantilevered edges so that it wasn't a rectangular bread box, that it had beauty when you looked at it. So I was very fortunate both in the design partner that I had and also the builder that I found later, the person who makes it become real. We had a couple driving themes, and one of them was the chambered nautilus. And some people know the poem by Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it talks about the muse that artists and poets and others have had through the years about the nautilus. And the nautilus builds his house, and every year he lives in a smaller room, and each year he moves to a larger room until he outgrows his shell,
Okay.
and he leaves this beautiful shell on the seashore. So with 2 kids and us, we thought we would stay here for the majority of our time. And when it came our time to leave, we would leave a beautiful shell on the shores of the sea.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. And so what have you guys enjoyed most about living in Crystal Beach? Is it, going back to like what we were talking about, like the escape from everything, or I mean, obviously you have beautiful views on your balcony every single night.
Yes, it is the uniqueness of the community. Again, the metropolitan area has only increased in its vibration and in its hustle and bustle. So to be able to come back to a peaceful environment where everything slows down, the imprint that this has left on my children has been amazing. My daughter's the assistant director of the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. Growing up by the seashore, a deep love for it. My son is an ardent fisherman. His sense of relaxation and his sense of love of nature all came from being here. So the peacefulness and the quietness and the quaint little village feel of it is very unique in such a highly populated metropolitan area.
Yeah, it really is, and it makes it such a great place to raise a family, right?
It's been perfect, but it's not too bad to have as a retirement home either.
That too.
After your children, that was a long-term goal. The long-term goal was to raise my family here. It was designed for a family of 4 with the ultimate imagination that it would result in being a retirement home for 2. And it's done that. So now all of my children, and I have 2 grandchildren, every friend and every family member who's come here has loved this place, and so have we.
Yeah.
It'll be difficult to leave it, but it's time.
I can imagine. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your homes.
Donnie.
What's up, Palm Harbor? It's your host, Donnie Hathaway. If you are looking to stay up to date with all things Palm Harbor, then visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com. Super simple. You can sign up there, join the locals, where I'll be sharing more information on local events, local history, and what's happening in Palm Harbor. I really want to create and add more value to you as a listener for spending your valuable time tuning into my podcast. So join me there, keep listening, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. All right, so next we have Michael Schwarnier. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, you did.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Great job.
So you are the agent who's selling this home. We just had your seller on the home, or on the podcast, to kind of talk about the history and stuff behind the home.
Isn't he a great guy?
He's awesome.
I mean, he really is.
It's
a
a really cool story. Just kind of hear his take on Crystal Beach.
Sure.
So it's really cool, and we're thankful that he and you have shared that with us.
Very good. My pleasure.
So I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about just the the price of the home, like what you guys are offering to sell it for, and then just some of the details about the property as well.
Happy to do it. Thanks a ton. So the home is listed for $1.1 million, and the property has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's an inverted floor plan, Donnie. So the major living space, the master bedroom, living space, and kitchen is on the 3rd floor to take advantage of the beautiful views. And I know Michael told you about how he built the home and how he positioned it custom built on this lot.
Yeah.
And so it has there are views, and I want everybody to come and challenge me on this. There's Gulf views, water views at every single room of this home. And he just did a spectacular job doing that. So again, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It is built, it's solid as a rock. It's a 37-foot foundation. So what they refer to that is that the pillars that are holding this home are 37 feet to refusal. The home's only 47 feet tall. It's 3 stories.
Wow.
So it's almost as deep as it is tall. So it really is a beautifully built and solid home. Because of that inverted floor plan, what you have when you come up to the 1st level is really your guest level. You have 2 bedrooms and a living space and a full bath there, which is just wonderful, and then you come up to the major space. It has 4 covered patios. We're sitting at one. You can see the view that it's affording us now.
Right.
Although it's 2,046 square feet, total square footage is almost 3,500. It's a much bigger home, and it feels that way than that heated square feet will tell you. And then it has just a ton of great features, but I think the one that people get excited about most, like right now, is a brand new pool that was built in 22. So this year he's got a beautiful Gulf side pool. You can see the beautiful views now. Now, this time of year, the sun sets right over the pool.
Yeah.
And then during the summer, the sun sets right over our shoulder here that we're sitting at. So, spectacular home. I encourage everybody to come and see it. It has a he shed and a she shed. It's got its own little beach. We call it Hammock Beach. And it's just the coolest vibe home that you want to see. So, and it's really the iconic Crystal Beach home.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I think you hit it on the head. Like, you got to get out here and take a look at it,
Yeah.
right? The pictures can only do it justice. It only do so much. But getting out here, taking a look at the views, walking the property and the different features that it does have is pretty special.
Yeah, thanks. It really is cool. Yeah, well, a cute story Michael may have shared it with him, but he's out in the yard and he's out, being a neighborly guy, and people will come up to him that don't know him or just visitors here to Crystal Beach, which we have a lot of course, and they say, "Oh my gosh, look at the views here, or look at this home. What happened here?" And again, it's just fun for him to be able to have that foresight to say this home is just as spectacular as ever. And that iconic aspect we talked about, this drive, South Gulf Drive that comes up to the home, many artists have captured that in paintings, and you'll see them out in the community as the iconic image of Crystal Beach. It's right here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts and offering for us to come out and take a look at this home. So
my pleasure.
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
My cell phone is 727-459-8843. So please text me, give me a call. We typically have open houses on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But certainly if that doesn't work with people's schedules, I'm happy to schedule a personal view of the home. Michael's very accommodating, so we can see you pretty much anytime. Remember, though, when sun sets this time of year, around that 5:30, 5:20-ish or so that's the perfect time to come see the home. But, of course, anytime's fine.
Yep, wonderful. And we'll have the link in the description and everything below for everyone to kind of take a look at. So,
Donnie, thanks a ton. You guys do a great job. Your podcast is awesome, and it's really, talk about iconic things that are going on in Crystal Beach. For you to have this podcast and introducing your new business people that come into town and all that, it's just a super job. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, so for our last segment of this podcast, we have Kelsey, who obviously you guys already know. Kelsey Ward, and she's been on the podcast before, so if you haven't heard any of her episodes, go back and take a listen to them now. But we were fortunate enough to come out here and be able to record this podcast and do it with such a beautiful view in the background. And then we also, just the Crystal Beach community is so unique to Palm Harbor. So we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, some of the characteristics and traits that make it so unique, right?
Yeah, when we talked about coming out here and doing this, I thought, okay, well, let me Google and see what I can find on Crystal Beach. And then I took a step back and I was like, you know what? I know a few people who have lived in Crystal Beach or currently live in Crystal Beach. Let me ask them. And I guarantee you the things and the conversations that we had about the community are not things that you're just going to find on Google.
Mm-hmm.
The history and unique little selling points, I guess, of the community aren't things that you would typically find. So it's really unique, and I'm glad to share it.
Yep. So let's start with some of those things that make it so unique. So I know, 1850 is kind of when Crystal Beach and the Palm Harbor area was kind of first discovered or first settled on, right? So from there, I think most people know the entire Palm Harbor area was citrus groves and that sort of stuff. But what are some other unique things about Crystal Beach that you kind of found out in those conversations?
Yeah, so 1850, kind of the first people came here, started establishing Crystal Beach itself, and then about 100 years after that, in 1948, they built the church. And the church is down where most people gather to watch the sunset, and that church is actually still in use today. So from coming here and settling and then building up slowly over time, the community has really evolved. And then the community center actually started off as an orphanage. So it was an orphanage to about 85 children when it first opened up.
Wow. And then the church is being, right across the street is Live Oak Park, where, like you mentioned, a lot of people go and watch the sunset and stuff. And you also have the Crystal Beach Pier there as well, right?
Right, and that pier was actually rebuilt in the early 2000s, and it was funded by donations from residents in the community. So the donors' names are actually displayed down there, I guess, along the pier or like around the area, just to kind of show that they helped support the project.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So so let's talk a little bit about the real estate of kind of Crystal Beach and get into some of that. But, Mike mentioned it earlier in the podcast about the number of homes that were here when he first came to Crystal Beach. And he mentioned there were about 200 homes
that are
here. Now there's about 650 homes that are in Crystal Beach. Yeah.
Triple plus.
Yep. So population about 1,300. 1,300 people in Crystal Beach, right? So I think what makes Crystal Beach unique, right? And we were kind of talking about this before the podcast, but just the variety of homes that are here, right? You have the small shacks that are 700 square feet.
Yeah.
You have the giant homes that are, 5,000 square feet right on the water and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I love that because it's so diverse in its structure, but so common in its purpose, right? So you have somebody who all they want is to live in a small little beach bungalow type home. And then you have the other person who wants to live in a gorgeous home like this one, but they all have that common interest of loving the Crystal Beach lifestyle. So yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I think Mike touched on that, previously, just like coming here for that lifestyle, for that escape from the hustle and bustle of, the larger cities just outside Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. And it's pretty cool. Price points in Crystal Beach can range anywhere from, $250,000-$300,000 all the way up to, $3 million, I think is the highest sale in Crystal Beach. So quite a variety. And it's just a great community to raise a family.
Yeah, I think so too. I bring my daughter to that park sometimes, and she calls it where the trees go down, because I think that's something else that's really unique about even like the park. The trees grow differently. They almost grow down towards the ground. So yeah, it's a great place for family.
Yep, very cool. And so you grew up in Palm Harbor too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you guys come here as kids?
Yeah.
Cool.
I used to come and I used to fish off the pier. I used to climb the trees and run around with my friends. And yeah, for sure.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this again. Obviously, this is your
Thanks for having me.
podcast.
I'm working on my most hosted or guest to appear on the podcast.
Yeah,
so.
there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for checking out another podcast. And like I said before, if you want any more information on this home that is currently available for sale, you can contact Michael, and we'll have the links and everything to see the photos and check out more about the home in the description below. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I really hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. Now, if you're looking to connect with the guest or just get more information on the episode, then you can check the description below. I'll have all the links in the episode as well as a link back to my website. It's palmharborlocal.com, where you can stay up to date on what's going on with the podcast and sign up there to join the locals. Let's get after it this week, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.